Yes, first and foremost, thank you so much for having us, Kelly. For me, I'll tell you one thing. Me and Bobby had a mutual friend, and our connection is not about him trying to help me be a better point guard. We both shared a common interest in trying to impact underserved communities, and that's our plan.
Chris, what other investments? Is this something that's a first time for you, or are you kind of looking towards a career beyond basketball?
Well, this is obviously my first time, but definitely would love to get involved in other things as my career goes on. But this is something that I was truly passionate about. Me and Bobby have had a number of conversations. I've had an opportunity to do a number of philanthropy different events throughout my entire career, and philanthropy has been something that has not only been fulfilling to me, it's been frustrating because we've been able to partner now with this fund and try to make sustainable change.
And Bobby, I see here you've also worked with people like Eva Longoria. You're in the Los Angeles area, and obviously that works to bring a lot of attention to your efforts. Why Chris Paul, and what are your plans for this fund here?
So this fund is trying to address and tackle one of the most daunting challenges we face in America, which is the disparity in hope in urban communities. 1 out of 4 renter households in America today spend over 60% of their income on rent, and that comes at the expense of food security, health security, and retirement security. The intent of our fund is to harness market forces to create an innovative business model that tackles that issue and addresses the daunting challenge of affordable workforce housing. By partnering with someone like Chris, he is not only an investor, but he's an ambassador of great will who helps raise the awareness of this critical issue that is so evasive to a solution.
Bobby, how does this work and also make a financial return on it? I mean, this is an area where obviously the government is heavily involved in trying to subsidize housing. How can you actually make that a business model?
So it's a great question, and most people believe that if you superimpose a societal return on a financial metric, you're going to sacrifice yield. It's just not the case. The reality is that two play nicely in a sandbox. 2 ways to generate profits. One is to increase revenues, but Chris and I recognize that increasing rents on a community, essential service workers who have seen no wage inflation over 40 years, is disheartening. The other way to create profits is to reduce rents. We recognize that there is no pride in rentership in workforce housing. No one works 2 jobs a day, comes home and spends 50% of their income on rent and says, God, I really love living here. And as a result, there's tremendous turnover. By enriching the communities with essential services like health care and education and safety and security, you can create a pride in rentership, which in turn translates into longer durations of tenancy. When you have longer duration in tenancies, you dramatically drop your occupancy, your turnover costs, which drives the same profitability as alternative for-profit solutions. We are a for-profit solution as well.
Well, Chris, I give you credit because my head's spinning, but I was just going to ask you about something that the Washington Post said over the weekend. It says what Chris Paul and Steph Curry can teach us about President Trump. And basically what the writer suggests is that your go hard early strategy is basically what the president is doing right now. What do you think about these comparisons?
Well, I'll let those comparisons stay where they are. I didn't see or hear anything about that. For me right now, it's all about seeing what we can do to enrich these different communities that we're involved in, and first and foremost, get healthy.
I see that. I was just wondering about the glove there. We absolutely hope that you do. I was going to, sort of along the vein of just what's happening in our society right now, also ask you, because one of the main things the public may remember about you is that high school basketball game where you scored 61 points after your grandfather was killed. He was 61 at the time. When you look at some of the violence that's taking place in communities like Chicago and elsewhere today, you know, and because I know that you're so involved with the NBA players and just all, you know, you were student body president for 3 years running. If anybody can figure out maybe how to go and inspire change, I feel like it would be you. What do you think about some of the unfortunate things happening in places like Chicago today?
Well, it's not just me. I think myself, along with others, can bring awareness and different things in these different communities. I was a victim of some teen violence to my late grandfather when I was in high school, but it's all about change, and what we're trying to do in these different underserved communities is huge. I had an opportunity to play in New Orleans for a number of years and had an opportunity to see what some of the communities look like and some of the challenges that these kids face on a day in and day out basis. And a lot of these kids need hope. You know, they need to know that people really and truly care about them on a daily basis, and not just for a one-off or just for a picture or for a ribbon cutting. And I think that's what my family, everyone has always been about, and I think that's what we're trying to do here with this program.
Yeah, you know, when we have celebrities or people like yourselves come through with the program, we often like to ask what their biggest money mistake in life has been, just speaking to those teachable moments that we all have. Chris, what do you think so far, or looking back, has been a big money mistake that you've made and learned from?
Man, that's a great question, and one that was unexpected. I think for me, it's just to ask questions. I could dive into a whole another thing right now, but for me, I was 19 years old and thrust into the NBA, so it was a difficult task, not only for me, but for my family. So the biggest adjustment for me is to ask questions and find out about financial literacy, and I think that's the next step for us as professional athletes and everyone.
Bobby, what about you? Does one come to mind?
Oh, I would say that the thing that was the revelation to me was that I always thought that by creating wealth would generate happiness for me, and my biggest mistake was not recognizing sooner in my life that the only thing that wealth guaranteed me was a more comfortable form of misery, and that enabled me to evolve to a capitalist who recognized that doing good and doing well by society needn't be exclusive, and that's the combination what brings Chris and I together. We don't believe that the divisiveness in politics today is the disparity of wealth, it's the disparity of hope, and we're investing in hope.